Hey, Marno, nice chatting to you today in the middle of lockdown. How's lockdown been treating you and your family?
No, it's all good. Hi, Ruan. It's all good. Different lifestyle, different things, many new things. So getting used to it every day, just thinking about things differently. But parts of it that I'm really enjoying, and then parts that we're also missing the people out there. So, but it's great fun. We make the most of it. Yeah.
Very, very true. So, Manu, you're the culture evangelist. Last time I checked, they're at King Price Insurance. Now, maybe there's someone watching this recording and for some reason they don't have a clue who King Price is or what you guys do. Don't you want to use that 20-second, elevator pitch and maybe just enlighten them?
Yeah, so King Price is an insurance company. We do short-term insurance, commercial insurance. We also acquired a life insurance company recently, but we're basically a short-term insurance company that has come up with a decreasing premium, which is the first of its kind in South Africa, that your car premium, your insurance premium should and decreases monthly as the value of your car decreases. So yeah, we're an insurance company and it's exciting times.
And you guys mainly operate in Southern Africa, and I even heard rumors about a possible expansion into Europe sometime in the future.
Yes, we are at the moment in South Africa and in Namibia, and we are expanding hopefully into Europe. We are looking at acquiring businesses there now, and yeah, that's the plans going ahead post lockdown, given the world is still the same or fairly the same.
How big is the staff complement at King Price at the moment?
So we're currently just over 1,000 people. So we've just crossed the 1,000 barrier. So yeah, mostly all in the same building. About 90% of that would be all in the same building. So that's our staff complement at the moment.
Over 1,000 people, and the burning question then with Corona, COVID-19 and current lockdown in South Africa, has that at all affected your business or the way in which you guys are doing business at the moment?
Yeah, so Ruan, we were obviously quite challenged because, we're sitting with a call center, and moving a call center, to be at the houses is quite a challenge. That was not easy, but it's amazing. I think what we've seen is that Corona is an accelerator. And what we thought might be possible in 5 years became possible in 7 days. So within a week, we had to literally move a whole call center to their houses. People are sitting in the living rooms, making calls, receiving calls, our claims processes, everything, every single person. There's nobody in the building. So that was quite an accelerator for us. And now the awareness, obviously, so quickly is to realize, sure, is that how quickly we can cause that amount of change, or not cause, or can facilitate that change as worldwide situation has changed, So I think once again, it's proven that humanity, it's not just us, I think humanity are much better at change than what we think we are. I know the most common thing is that people hate change and, people don't like change. I very often beg to differ with that. Maybe we're not comfortable with it, but I actually think people are much better at change than what they think they are. Maybe it's just a thinking thing that we should help them shift, but I think we're actually good. But yes, the business has changed. We are now looking at numbers. Some of our competitors have come with new models. We are looking at new models also, coming up with new products, because in lockdown, the cars don't drive that much. There's a lot of things that's going to change. And then going forward to see how does driving patterns change. So I guess our actuaries and those guys will be working on a couple of new models to say, is driving patterns going to change afterwards? Are more people actually going to start working remotely, permanently? Are people going to start working from homes more permanently? Is traffic going to go down, which means risk might go down, which might have an influence on the premiums. So there's lots of things, and those would be the trends we'll have to keep our eyes on quite closely in the next couple of months to see where things will be going.
Well, hats off to you guys for managing to stay fully operational in this time and having more than 1,000 people working remotely currently, from their homes. I recently saw a post down on LinkedIn by your CEO where Gideon wrote one of his favorite quotes, "Never waste a good crisis." So I'm sure there are certain lessons you guys are currently learning, during this time. Do you possibly consider doing business differently going forward or post-lockdown?
Yes, we're definitely considering it. It's going to be about how and what should be different. But we are busy asking we're trying to keep on asking questions, trying to discover the new ways of work, changes in the ways of work.
And in the world of in the world of HR or human capital, I'm hearing more and more people refer to exactly what you're saying now, that future of work. Will it look differently? Will more people work remotely? And it's interesting times we're living in. And for leaders, do you have any specific advice? I've also recently read more and more people, when they're recruiting executives, are looking for skills like adaptability or agility. So, and you touched on it. It's the way we think. It's not going to be business as usual. So, any advice you want to give leaders, in charge of businesses or leading teams, things they should think of going forward?
Yeah, I think those abilities that you mentioned are actually abilities that we should have been looking for and might have been looking for, but I think those certain abilities might now really move right to the top. And looking at that shift, I think it was always expected of leaders to be agile and adaptable, but now the inability of that might be detrimental to yourself. So I think there's a lot of personal development space working on in all of us to look at that. But I think your question is advice for leaders. I think I'm thinking about one of the leadership minutes I'm doing at the moment for our company is about strategy and being strategic. So my favorite definition of being strategic is not knowing exactly, it's not necessarily planning out a 2-year or a 5-year plan. Being strategic often just means knowing what's the best next step. So it's making sure everybody in our organization almost embraces that strategic mindset of what's the next best step, because the world has changed so fast the last couple of weeks. And I think we're still in a process of that. This morning, I saw that Wuhan in China has just opened up today, where some people allowed back to offices. And they were saying, I think that's after a 76-day lockdown. So hopefully we're not going that far, but that's obviously the epicenter of where everything started. So, so the question is going to be being so agile with whatever the world of work is going to throw at us. And I was sitting with my kids the other day, and I said, listen, they're teenagers already. I said, listen, this is such a time for you guys to learn something, whatever it is, but you need to learn and take something, because I am almost sure. The one thing I'm sure of is this is not the last time this is going to happen in your lifetime. This is for me at age 45. This is the first time ever in my whole life experiencing something like that. Or like somebody said, except for a couple of World War II survivors somewhere still in the world, nobody else has experienced this. I'm not talking maybe in the war-torn countries, but generally speaking. So, but I don't think this might be the last time something like this is going to, and now it's a virus and it's an epidemic. We don't know what it can be next week, but the world is going to continue to throw scenarios and situations at us where we're going to have to be able to think very quickly, think on our feet, be strategic, knowing what is the best next step, just the best next step. Because what it's going to look like in 3 weeks from now. We were making decisions as a team in the last 2 days, and some of those decisions were saying, well, we can't decide whether we're going to do this because this is going to be advertised in 3 weeks, and we're not sure whether we still lock down in 3 weeks. So we can literally not make certain decisions on marketing, and things like that. Within a 3-week space, it's not even accurate to guess. So that gives us a bit of the insecurity we're looking at, we're looking at. And I think we refer to the terms VUCA, which a lot of people have heard about by now, I'm sure. The volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Now, VUCA was actually a military term that infiltrated the business world. People can go and look at that or Google it. But and I think that's exactly where we're at now. So volatile, so uncertain, so complex, and very ambiguous how people are handling it or reacting to it. And I think that is that's just maybe, so if I can throw in another minute that's just fresh in my mind, which I recorded this morning for our people as well, I was talking about whether we are locked down, locked up, locked in, locked out. I'm not sure, but my thought was, are we focusing on the word locked, or are we focusing on the word up, down, in, and out? So if we can focus on the words up and think where our strength comes from God, and really just reaffirm that source of our strength at this moment, look down, thinking how can we lead humbly, really embrace again a humble way of leading, looking inside myself, what needs to change, what shifts can happen inside me, and then outwards. How am I going to lead outwardly after I've looked up, I've looked down, I've looked in, to lead outward? So that would be my quick thing. And then just, the president said we lock down in our houses. He didn't say lock your minds. So we don't have to lock our thinking. And I think the important thing for me is to unlock your thinking in this time. You can not make sure your focus on those words is not on the lock part of it, but on the up, down, in, and out part of it, and unlock your thinking. I think if I can do that, then I will prepare my mind to be more ready as we exit.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree and love what you're saying. Now, as the person responsible for very intentionally, crafting the organizational or the corporate culture there at King Price, are you concerned at all at the possible influence this lockdown or working remotely could have on that culture?
Yes. So I think, yes, once again, I think it's going to be different. And the questions we're asking is, how's it going to be different? And we are trying to keep our eyes on that at the moment. So the thought that I shared it to the whole company about 2 days or so ago was about building the culture in a company of one, because you're sitting all by yourself at home. So actually, we challenged our people. I said to them, are you ready to think about what is the ideal, the absolute perfect culture you always wanted to work in? You can do it right now because you're by yourself. There's nobody to blame. There's nobody to give excuses to. It's you by yourself building the absolute perfect culture, if there's a word like that. And then I said, you've got at least 21 days to exercise that ideal, perfect, fantastic culture. And once they unlock our building, you can just bring that culture to the building again, and then we'll have 1,000 brilliant cultures combined. So maybe our culture can be better. But I think, coming back to your word, we're trying to be intentional in this time to hopefully plant the right thinking models for people to return, and being aware, listen, are people struggling? How are they struggling? There might be people, I'm set up for a call or two today still with people that I know are struggling, or that had, for example, somebody who had a husband in a very serious motor car accident the day before lockdown, and she's not allowed to visit her husband in hospital, and things like that, small things. So trying to check in with them continuously, and just treating or handling those crises, which is even different than the whole Corona thing, is just adding it to it. But, trying to be intentional about helping our people in this time is important. And that's what we're going to try and do.
Still showing them that you do care, even though they're not under your roof physically, they're still part of the team. Now, an interesting question for you, which I struggle to answer. One of my friends, who's a typical micromanager, asked me recently, but, how would I know if those people are actually working during the day at home? So his question was around, how do you drive performance of people remotely or in virtual teams?
So I thought about that. I saw that question coming, actually, not from you, just from this situation we find ourselves. I realized immediately the micromanagers are either having a nightmare or are having a ball of a time. One of the, I'm not sure. I'm not a micromanager, so I'm not sure, but maybe they're very confused at the moment. But I realized my guess is that was actually something I see as a massive threat to the culture of an organization. Specifically speaking to also our own culture, which is a very open, very liberating, very free culture. All of a sudden, so who's working? My guess is the world is shifting massively, very quickly, to everything being measuring online. That's where I think it's going to go. We're not going there yet. But my guess is in a month from now, we're going to have people selling software of managing the productivity of your team, measuring productivity. I'm going to be very scared of those software, but because it's just not in our culture. But I can just see that fear being addressed with a great product. And if anybody's taking my thought and building it, just give me 10% shares or something. I don't know. No, so I'm scared of something like that. That micromanagement might creep in. Don't hear me wrong. We're not against managing productivity. That is going to be crucial. So I think it's going to be measured in the outcomes. We're going to see the results. For us, we have our dashboards. We know what we are measuring. I think it's 10 to 1 if productivity falls or if results fall. And we can measure still how many sales every person do every day, which we've anyway done in our building. We can monitor the claims process. Our processes are still running refreshed every 60 seconds. So we can measure those things. I think I'm scared for a culture of micromanagement clamping down on businesses and just really killing something, which I'm not sure yet exactly what it's going to be like and look like. But so it's going to have an influence, that thing.
Yeah, and I think, the organizations that are fortunate to have mature enough cultures, like you were saying, of liberating, beliefs where we realize, but we work with adults and allowing, and especially the millennials who I guess are flourishing currently under that freedom of having autonomy and, being able to make own choices and decide, am I going to work in my PJs today? But maybe we should realign our thinking then as well as leaders to instead measure the outcomes instead of the inputs. Last question, as a Christian, Marno, do you have any wise words you want to share with us? Maybe something the Lord is saying, or I know you're an avid reader as well. Maybe you read something recently in a book which you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think I can answer that question combinedly. And it's the book I've been reading has been Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game, which is one of his recent, and I think the big thing that he says, which as a Christian, he talks about the difference between a finite game and an infinite game. And a finite game always has an end line, a winning line. And if there's a winning line of who wins, it means somebody loses. So it's a thinking of finiteness, which is very limited to here and now. But an infinite game says if your company has a greater purpose, it's infinite. It's beyond the CEO, it's beyond the leader. It takes it much further. And once we remove the goalposts of winning, which is then not really even the right word, of achieving what we think as to beyond the grave, beyond a person's life expectancies, it just keeps going. It means we can build with purpose much stronger. So I think from a spiritual perspective, being rooted in not having a finite mindset, but an infinite mindset. I see there's a new book from Simon Sinek, so people can go and listen to some of his YouTube. I see on LinkedIn he's posting a couple of things on it, explaining just the differences in that. I was enjoying that quite a lot in trying to make sure that on our purpose side, what we believe we're called to do and called for is infinite. It is beyond just ourselves, and we can join, you and I can join the same infinite cause. Sinek talks about a just cause. What is your just cause? And so you and I can work for different companies, yet support a similar just cause, which means different companies can actually work together. We can do things together, although we might be in competition business-wise, but in an infinite just cause approach, we can actually try and address the same problems that we're facing in the world. And I think in that combination, there can be a lot of strength and great collaboration and combined strength.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for those wise words of wisdom. Thank you for your time and the willingness to share with us. Enjoy this quality time with your family at home as well. Hopefully your wife's not, charging you or involving you in too many DIY projects. Praying for you and also for King Price. May you guys continue to lead on this cultural front, and we salute you guys for what you're doing. So thanks, Marno. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ruan. It was a great privilege speaking to you again. We'll chat again.